I never forget the day Hope stood in the rain, shouting Joy's name for everyone to hear. That moment changed everything for him, for her, and for all of us watching. Hope was the kind of guy who faded into the background. Quiet, hardworking, and always keeping to himself. We shared a desk in class, so I knew him better than most. He wasn't flashy or loud, but he had this genuine kindness about him. The kind of guy who'd give you the last page of his notebook if you ran out, even if it meant he had none left for himself. But even Hope had his secrets. And his biggest secret. Joy. Joy was everything Hope thought he wasn't. She was smart, outgoing, and the kind of girl who made people laugh just by walking into a room. She wasn't just pretty, she had this warmth that made everyone feel seen. It wasn't hard to see why Hope liked her. What was hard was watching him convince himself he didn't stand a chance. "She's way out of my league," he said one day as we walked home. "I don't even know why I bother liking her. Why not just tell her?" I asked. He laughed bitterly. "And say what?" "Hey, Joy, I like you, but I have nothing to offer except my company. She deserves someone better. Someone like Tond." Tond. The school's star athlete, the guy who always seemed to have everything together. If Hope was invisible, Tond was the opposite. And worse, Tond and Joy actually talked a lot. When the school party was announced, I thought it might be Hope's chance. Everyone was buzzing with excitement, and even Hope seemed curious. "Are you going?" I asked him. "Probably," he said, shrugging. But I could tell he was already nervous. On the night of the party, Joy showed up in a blue dress that made her stand out even more than usual. Hope couldn't stop staring, but he didn't move from our corner of the room. "You should ask her to dance," I nudged him. He shook his head, his face pale. "I can't." "What if she says no?" Then, as if on cue, Tond walked up to Joy, said something that made her laugh, and led her to the dance floor. Hope's face fell. He watched them for a moment, then turned away, pretending to be interested in the snacks on the table. "That should have been me," he said quietly, his voice heavy with regret. After that night, Hope changed. He avoided Joy altogether, skipping conversations and taking different routes to class. I could tell it hurt him, but he was too proud, or too scared, to face her. Joy noticed. One rainy afternoon, after school, she found him standing by the gate, waiting for the storm to die down. Most of the students had already gone home, but Hope stayed back, probably hoping to avoid her. "Hope," she called, her voice carrying over the sound of the rain. He turned, startled. Joy was walking toward him, her umbrella forgotten as the rain drenched her uniform. "Why are you avoiding me?" she demanded, stopping in front of him. "I'm not," he lied, not meeting her eyes. "You are," she insisted. "Did I do something wrong?" He hesitated, then shook his head. "No. It's not you. It's me." "What does that even mean?" she asked, frustration and concern mixing in her voice. And that's when it happened. Hope, who'd always been so quiet, so careful, finally let go. "I like you, Joy," he shouted, stepping out into the rain. "I've liked you for so long, but I was too scared to say anything because I thought I wasn't good enough for you." Joy froze, her eyes wide. By now, a small group of students had gathered under the awning, watching the scene unfold. "I know I'm not like Tond or the other guys who talk to you," Hope continued, his voice shaking. "I don't have fancy clothes or a big personality. But I like you. And I had to tell you, even if it means you laugh at me." For a moment, the only sound was the rain. Then Joy did something none of us expected. She walked into the rain, right up to him. "Oh," she said softly, her voice cutting through the storm, "why would you think I'd laugh at you? Do you think I care about any of that?" He looked at her, stunned. "You're kind, you're honest, and you're real," she said, her eyes locking onto his. "That's more than enough for me." And then, in front of everyone, she hugged him. The crowd erupted in cheers, clapping and shouting as the rain poured down around them. Hope stood there, frozen for a moment, before finally wrapping his arms around her. From that day on, Hope and Joy were inseparable. Their story became the stuff of legend at our school. And every time it rained, someone would joke about Hope's dramatic confession, calling it the moment he went from quiet boy to hero.